Connor Northrup, and I'm joined by UFC flyweight Tim Elliott, who makes a quick turnaround against Ryan Benoit at UFC's July 15th event in Fight Island. What's up, Tim?
Not much, just out here in Kansas City getting some training in. Today's my rest day, so I'm literally doing nothing all day.
There you go. And I know we're about a week removed here, but I saw for Father's Day you got to play some mini golf. I mean, how was your Father's Day?
Father's Day was really good. That was one of the reasons why I came to Kansas City. I'd been in Vegas with my regular team training, but my daughter had came down here to see some family. So it had been like a month since I'd seen her, and it was kind of worked out perfect that the fight happened the way that it did. My teammate and friend Joseph Benavidez is fighting July 18th on Fight Island, so two of my main coaches are tied up with that. Not tied up; they both definitely were able to corner me, but I didn't want to get in the way of that at all, and I didn't want to pull anything away from my fight. So good thing is like I have other coaches. As soon as that got booked up, I got down here to Kansas City, and I'm training with James Krause and Grant Dawson and Austin Ford. And I mean, they just got two more guys assigned to the UFC. I think two guys are fighting tonight in the UFC from this little gym in Kansas City. So, it's kind of scary going down and fighting on Fight Island without my main regular coaches, but it's good that I've created so many good relationships in this game, and I have guys that I feel 100% confident going to battle with.
Yeah. And I know in your last fight, too, James wasn't in your corner because I know he also knew Brandon a little bit, too. But any excitement there to kind of have him back in your corner this fight?
Big time. Like, I got lucky in the Askar Askarov fight. He just happened to be down there for Grant Dawson, and the fight didn't happen. So I pulled Gina out of the corner, and James jumped in, and that fight was different. I had a really good camp for the Askarov fight. I felt really, really awesome. And then the Brandon Royval fight, I had no camp, and I was just came in off the couch and got worked over a little bit. But yeah, it's always good to have James in my corner, man. He's I've said this before, like even before either one of us was in the UFC, that he's a better coach than he is a fighter. And I mean, he's an amazing fighter. He's on a 5 or 6 fight win streak right now. But he's making these, and including myself, like he groomed me to be in the UFC. And then these guys like Grant Dawson and Jason Witt and Mikey Breeden, these guys have been here since the beginning, and like they got to the UFC through James Krause. Like obviously they worked hard as well, but like James is the man. He brings the best out of people, and I'm looking to get a little bit of that July 15th.
Yeah. You just mentioned Jason Witt, who fights tonight too. How much excitement is there for that?
A lot for me. I was at James's gym before I was in the UFC, and I was James's and their first guy ever in the UFC, and then several people shortly after that. But Witt has been one of those guys that was in there before me, training hard and working hard after me. And then when I get back to Kansas City, still in there working hard and training, and then gets a call maybe my second or third day here, and then now he's fighting in the UFC. So like, it's not by chance and it's not by luck. It's years of hard work and dedication and putting the time in, and not only for Jason but for Krause as well. Like, we're not easy guys to deal with. Fighters are not easy guys to communicate with. They're not easy guys to get to do what you say. But James is just one of those people and coaches. Like, he knows how to bring that out of you. And if you don't listen to him, he's liable to kick your ass.
There you go. And I know you said like you're going from kind of Vegas, Kansas City for this fight too, but how much time did you have like away from training between your last fight and now? I mean, I'm assuming not much.
No, none. But the good thing about that was before the Brandon Royval fight, I wasn't really training at all anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's just good to be back to training. So now I'm here in Kansas City and I'm doing camp. It's not just sneaking around trying to get one practice a day or try to find guys to train with you. And now I have a program laid out. I have strength conditioning on these days. I have MMA on these days. I have pads on these days. I have recovery on these days. So I kind of just got back to like putting a real system in play, like how to win and put the building blocks to win down. And not that I wasn't able to do that in Las Vegas. It wasn't anybody else. It was me, like being at my house and being comfortable. And my last 2 fights were in Las Vegas. I didn't sleep at the hotel room. I stayed at my own house, and like, it was really nice and comforting. But, this isn't a comfort sport. This isn't a nice sport. This is a gritty, nasty, mean, ugly sport. And, sometimes you got to do the shit you don't want to do. Be away from your family, be out of your own bed, be around people you don't know, be around people you don't like. Like that's a sacrifice that makes camp. And I feel like I missed that on my last 2 fights. and I'm not gonna miss that on this one. I moved completely away. I thought I was gonna be here a little bit longer, but I guess we fly back to Vegas on July 5th, quarantine and more testing, and then immediately to Abu Dhabi from there. So I wasn't really expecting all that, but at least we get out there in enough time to give everybody a few days to get ready.
Yeah, you can't get away from Vegas even if you try.
No way. Yeah.
But why the quick turnaround too? Was it just like a salty taste in your mouth from that last fight? Did you like want to prove something? Why take a fight so fast?
Well, after the loss, I was pissed and I didn't have a lot of training, and I was like, I was just so mad. I wanted to get right back in there. And then the fight with Tyson Nam happened. They asked me if I wanted it. Ryan Benoit wasn't able to fight, something to do with his drug test. So I was like, bam, yes, right away. I mean, I got arm triangled. I didn't take any damage. I mean, I got kneed in the stomach once, and then I got arm triangled. That was all that happened to me in that fight. But then I ended up having a 30-day suspension. I think it was a miscommunication. Wow. But, like, to keep everybody safe, I get it. Like, if they don't know what's going on, of course they're going to give me a mandatory, and that's partially my fault. So I was suspended in that, and then I was like, good, I'm going to take this time off. I'm going to, I planned on going to Kansas City anyway. I was going to come see my daughter and train with Krause. And he was like, yeah, man, just come train. He was like, don't get a fight. Like, let's just have some fun. And then, like, a day later, they offered me the Benoit fight. I called James, and of course, James always thinks I can beat everybody. So, like, and he's that's the reason why I call him. I don't want to call somebody and have them think that I can't beat somebody.
Yeah.
I know James is one of those guys where, like, he knows if there's time left on the clock that I can win a fight. So, it all kind of just played out perfect. And the good thing is like, I'm not going to have my regular two coaches that I usually have in Casey Halstead and Eddie Baraka, but those guys are going to be up there. I'm still going to have them. I'm still going to have their presence around. Mm-hmm. And then that also Joseph Benavidez, my friend and teammate who's fighting for a world title. It's all pushing me in the right direction. And I feel like that's something I really need right now.
Yeah. And touching on your last fight too, I mean, I know, like you said, you didn't really have a camp going into that, but I remember, like, in the interview I saw with Royval, he kind of said that he didn't feel like he, like, deserved the win almost. He just felt like you kind of tired out. Is that how you saw it too? Was it just like a cardio thing?
I'm not to take anything away from Brandon, because the kid is good. I mean, but yeah, that was one of the hardships that I had in that fight. Was he caught me in a submission, but in all honesty, like, I was wore out. Usually I push a pace and I want to make us both tired. That's how I like to fight. I want to go out there, make him tired, make myself tired, and then come sit down in between rounds and recover. All that happened exactly like I wanted it to. I felt a little bit like I overdid it because I was worried about his danger factor and his striking a little bit. And then second round went perfect. Like, I got my wind back and I stood up, and then I tried to put my arms up and my arms just weren't there. So yeah, I was completely spent and gassed, but it wasn't anything that Brandon did. It was I overdid it. I overworked, and I didn't have the camp or cardio to do my regular pace, and I didn't have the know-how in my mind to chill out a little bit. So props to Brandon. Brandon fought the smart fight. Even if he doesn't think that he deserved to win, like, it's not just punching and kicking out there. There's a lot of different factors at play, and the kid did his homework. He trained hard. He's got good coaches. And, he deserved that win, and he got it fair and square. Not only that, he got a $50,000 bonus check.
Yeah.
So, for a first fight in the UFC to beat a guy who fought for a world title and get $50,000, that's a good look for him. And I'm glad he deserves it. He's a young kid who's working a part-time job. Like, those are the guys I want to see do well. Mm-hmm. I would just soon not be doing well against me, but I'm a realist in the sport. I would much rather see a young guy get his shot like that than me go out and lose to Demetrius Johnson like that. I know I can go out and do 5 rounds against the best guys. I've done it. So it's not that big of a deal. The losing was hard for me, especially on a fight that I feel like I should win. But again, it was more things that I didn't do, that I didn't prepare for, than anything.
Mm-hmm. And then for your upcoming fight too, I mean, against Benoit, he's a guy that's been around the UFC, I think, since like 2013 too. Are you surprised that you kind of haven't, like, crossed paths with him yet?
There's been moments, but we trained together actually for a little bit in Las Vegas when Robert Follis was alive. And I think after that, it's just like there's so many guys to fight. Like, guys like Brandon Moreno, not even train with. If I train with you and I don't necessarily like you, like, I don't mind that fight. But, like, with him, I got along with him well. Like, same with Brandon Moreno. Like, he's my buddy. Like, definitely if it's a have-to fight, like, I would just take it. But at the time, Brandon and I were training together a little bit, and he's good. He's not somebody that I was like calling out right away or anything like that. So, but again, I put the name on paper and gave it to Krause and like, hey man, you're going to be running this camp, which he's been asking me to do. He's wanted to get back working with me. And it's more just been me being scared to get out of my comfort zone. I've been since Falls died in Las Vegas, I've been scared to like really put myself out there because I moved my whole life for that guy. And then he killed himself. So since that time, my heart hasn't really been in the sport. I don't think I haven't had that love for training or fighting or any of that. And then coming down here to Kansas City, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of that back. You know, James is just one of those guys. If you've never spent any time with him, even outside of MMA, like he's one of those guys that like you want to do better being around. He's a good dad. He's a good friend. He's a good coach. He's a great, he's a businessman. He's all the things that I want to be and a lot of the things that I'm not. So like as much time as I can spend with the guy, even outside of MMA, like I feel like it benefits me more than I'll know right now. But one day I'll be able to see, and I can just feel it being down here. I'm feeling that fire a little bit. Like I really want to get out there and fight and not just get a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just went right into my next question too. Is just like being a person who's like on a 3-fight win streak. Like just hearing you talk now too, you just sound like you're almost like kind of like reinvigorated, just re-energized. Like did this like, I mean, I know you said like you didn't really plan it, but this move from like Vegas to Kansas City, then you get a fight. Like, are these just kind of like perfect circumstances? Do you feel like right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of all falling into place, and I don't want to say like destiny or fate or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like I was looking to be done, and then got the call. They gave me a raise. They renegotiated my contract after 3 losses in a row. And, that made me feel really good. And then talking to James and then, being worried about this fight because I wasn't going to have my coaches and then getting out here, everything just kind of is really fitting good because now I'm going to get to go out there with Krause. I have a good opponent. Both of my other coaches that aren't even coaching me are going to be out there. I'm still going to be able to spend time with them. I'm going to take my girlfriend out there with me. So I'm going to be in this place that is, it's a place that is a little bit different, but I'm going to be with all these guys, all these people that I love and that really love me. And man, that's the fight game is such a small community. And man, I feel like I have a good group of people around and a good base of people. And, even Joe B is obviously we're teammates and friends, but we fought each other and he coached me on The Ultimate Fighter. It's just, I get to see his progression and my progression and these other guys that, I get to watch them do what they love to do. It's just everything right now is really positive as far as, being a guy on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't know how it could be much better.
Yeah. I mean, were you surprised that you got like more fights?
I didn't know. Well, my manager called me and told me I got the bonus. I was like, no. He was like, yeah, man, turn the TV on. So I didn't really believe I got the bonus until I heard Dana White say it. And then I heard other people say they thought other guys maybe deserved it. But my thing is like, I've had 5 fight of the night bonuses in the UFC. So like whenever I fight, my fight is always looked at for the bonus. Like when you're exciting, like you always get looked at. So 2 fights where I was like, no way. Louis Smolka, they said I got it. And I was like, oh no, I didn't feel like I fought that well in that fight. But Dana White brought me into his green room afterwards, right after the fight, and was like, dude, you only get to see a few fights like that in a lifetime. Amazing. And he gave me a check right there. So like, I know my style and I know my coaches and like we're looked at, we're under a microscope, like with the drug testing, with the weight cutting, like we're a team of guys that do really well. Like we don't get in trouble. We don't screw around. And then also when the bonus checks start coming out, we're always looked at, even if the fight isn't the very most exciting, we get that look because we're company guys. We do the stuff that nobody else wants to do. And like we do it without question and we don't bitch and we're easy to work with. And, I feel like that's also a big part of it. But I learned all that from James Krause in this sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you don't mind me asking too, how many fights did you get?
4. They re-signed me to 4.
Wow, great. Congratulations.
Yeah, when he called me, I thought I was getting fired. So I was a little bit worried, but then I got the bonus, got a raise, got a new contract. I mean, I get to travel the world with the people that I love, and it couldn't be better. Just got to see my daughter for a couple weeks before I go to Fight Island, and then back to the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, like what does it just like feel like right now too? Because like you just kind of like allude to yourself, like a lot of good things are happening too. But like not only that, but like you get to travel like this Fight Island. That's something that like a lot of guys don't want to go on, even though it's Yaz Island. People still want to be on those cards, and here you are. You get to have that. You got 2 fights during this pandemic where some people are having a hard time finding work. So like, I mean, are you just like grateful at this point?
super grateful. And I've always, like, I've had some issues with the UFC in the past, but like, you don't bite the hand that feeds. And if you show them that you want to be there, and you show them that like you can make weight, and you show them that you can fight, even if you don't win all your fights, like my manager didn't seem to think it was a problem. And the UFC, they always tell me like, like it's not an issue. They want guys like that, guys that show up, make weight, not getting in trouble. Like it's a big deal to pass your drug test. Like it's not that hard to pass a drug test. Like it's really pretty easy. I know, because I'm in Vegas. They drug test me like they come to my house at 6:00 in the morning. I know these people by name. They still try to surprise me with these drug tests. And I'm like, you guys call me, man, just come over. Like, I'm going to pass my drug test. Like nothing changes. But no, I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now, and like, really loving the sport again. And like, that's just, a quick turnaround for me. It's just, and I never was really down about it. I've always had, even in Vegas, I've had great coaches and great relationships up there, but I was more living life and just enjoying regular life. And then fight life was kind of getting chipped away at. Mm-hmm. And like, now I came down here for a camp, and like, I'm building that fight base back and chipping away at the rest of my social life, because that's not what's important right now. What's important right now is, winning these fights and getting back on the winning track and making the most out of this contract. Because just because they sign me to 4 more fights doesn't mean they won't fire my ass after the next one, because they will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw in the past interview too that you said you weren't so much worried about like winning and losing. It was more about like kind of chasing those bonuses too. Is that mindset changing a little bit?
It's changing now, because I know you can't win bonuses if you can't win fights. If they cut you, so like, but that's happened before. Like I've done this where like I lose a couple and I get cut, and then I come back, I do well, and I do really good. I fight for a world title, and then I lose 3 fights in a row and get cut. Like, and then you got guys like Julian Erosa, another one of my teammates who's fighting tonight. This is his 4th or 5th time being signed to the UFC, and like most people would just be done, but the kid's always training. He's always on weight. He's always passing his drug tests. He don't drink. He don't get in trouble outside of the UFC. Like, he's a great training partner. So like, then when he gets signed again, it's like, it's not a surprise. Those are the guys that should be getting signed. Like, there's a lot of dumbasses out there that are really good that can't get their shit together, can't pass the drug test, and like, even if those guys are winning fights, like, they're a liability. Like, it's a liability to have those guys in your promotion, or like, even worse, God forbid they do something even worse. And then it's like, oh, UFC fighter does this, or UFC fighter, and really they're not a fighter. They're just a bad dude. But you got guys like Julian Erosa, and they're good dudes. They're good fighters. They're good teammates, and they're always ready. And like, I love seeing those guys get their shots. And like, it's nice to know too that the promotion, like, even though you've been fired, myself included, my girlfriend included, and several of my teammates, that if you stay the course and you keep doing the right shit, like, they'll rehire you. They're if you're there in Vegas and you're ready to fight and you're training hard, like, it's not that hard to get in the UFC, especially right now. Now is the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what is it too? I mean, obviously, like, you're a vet, but like, that's something I've been talking about a lot with like different fighters too, is like, I mean, this is like the perfect time to be a prospect outside the UFC, because there are such like quick turnarounds too. I mean, you see it every week. It's almost like, maybe at least like 2 guys.
Well, and there's guys that can't, from Brazil and stuff, that can't fly out. There's a lot of can't leave. So like, if you're in the United States, you already have an advantage. And like, you have to have a great record just a winning. I mean, they signed a guy whenever I couldn't fight Nam. They signed a guy who was 3-1. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not a lot of fights. And but like, he was there, had his blood work, had a good manager. His manager told him to be there and be ready. And, which has been really great. That's why I like the fights happening in Vegas. It's not going to be that way on Fight Island. There's no extra guys. So hopefully, if something does come up and I can stay healthy, I might get 2 fights this week or that week.
There you go. And my last question too is just any like extra added excitement just to be able to go to Fight Island and kind of experience that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to that part of the world anyway, so like, it kind of sucks during the pandemic. I would really like to see it bustle, but I hear that Fight Island is a man-made island anyway, and it's only has shit going on when there's shit going on. So I think it's going to be cool to have a whole city shut down just for fighters. Like, we're going to have our own private beaches, our own private I mean, like, I don't know how it's going to work, but I assume there'll be, enough restaurants and stuff to go around. The UFC employees are still going to want to, go out and eat and do all that stuff. So I feel like for Gina and I, will get to go out on this, get a fight, and then have a little vacation while we wait and watch the other fights.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Tim. Well, I mean, before I let you go, anything you want to add? The floor is yours.
Nah, man, I'm good. Follow me on Instagram at awkward_MMA. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.